Let's have a look at Dromoland Castle in County Clare, and we'll begin with the turret, which you can see to the eastern side of the motorway if you're driving from Ennis to Limerick. Now, these kind of structures are known by the architects and historians of the world as follies, and the Oxford definition is an expensive and frivolous construction with no practical purpose. Now, there seems to be a keep on moving, nothing to see here attitude inherent in that, so let's keep on looking. There's a close-up of the turret. We can see from the brickwork and stonework that some modifications and repurposing has happened at some point. And looking at an aerial view, we'll see that it sits on top of a star-shaped mound, which is orientated towards the castle. Looking at design factors in electronics, antennas, waveguides and that sort of thing, if you were planning to transmit energy, they're the kind of shapes you would see. This was built, we're told, in 1740 by one Edward O'Brien, so that he could come over to the top of the hill here and sit and watch his horses being trained in the fields around there. There's a painting of Edward from the Dromoland website. He's looking calm and well-nourished for a man who probably never set foot in a kitchen in the 60 years that he lived, nor did he open a bottle of wine. It was probably all decanted for him by the time he got back from the horses. So, to come back to the turret, if we take a line from the turret down to the castle, remembering the turret is a 7-metre diameter octagon, the line down to the castle immediately rests on another 7-metre octagon in the same orientation. That's a water fountain just beside the east door of the castle. That's the fountain there highlighted by the red arrow. When we look at that line, we'll see that the castle itself is built on that line, as are the walled gardens, and we can see the layout there of the present day clubhouse, the golf clubhouse and the walled garden there, all built on that line. So given that the turret is the highest point on that biggest hill overlooking the estuary, we can safely say this was all part of one construction project back around 1740. There's a couple of more images there from the walled garden, and as you can see, they did know how to carve stone. Taking a closer look at the water fountain, we see there we've got the line coming in through the layout of the castle to the water fountain. And out of the primary points on that octagon, we have alignments to the sundial at Thomond House, the Church of Ireland Tower at Kilkishen, the house at Kiltannon, a standing stone, a marker standing stone at Dura, and another point at Era Lighthouse. These are alignments with the points on the octagon. There are also alignments whereby houses, for example, Trinidary House has been built with an alignment to the centre of the water fountain. That's 7 or 8 kilometres away. The same is true of Lemina Castle and Crannar House. There are a number of locations whereby buildings have been aligned with this water fountain. Now, if you stand at the water fountain and look to the east, there's a pathway down through the trees to a temple. The Temple of Mercury is a gazebo bandstand octagonal construction sitting there in the woods. And the story is that it was built by Edward O'Brien at the point where his favourite racehorse died, and the racehorse is supposedly buried right there. There's a close-up of the temple and a close-up of Mercury standing on top of the temple. The caduceus is interesting. And this is where it gets even more interesting, because 19 metres to the east is the lily pond. Now, if we take a line from the temple to the lily pond, the line comes out along the footpath to the centre of the lily pond, which is an octagon. The little island in the middle is an octagon. The bed you sit on is an octagon, and the pillar right in the middle of everything is octagonal also. And the 90 metres, if we remember numbers with 9 in there, are a part of this octagonal geometry system. So here's the lily pond. Now, in the same way that the water fountain was at the centre of a number of alignments, the lily pond is exactly the same. If we continue the line from the temple to the lily pond, continue that line exactly 1 mile further out, 1.6 kilometres, we hit the centre of Mohon Fort, which we're told is about 3,000 years old. Some of the other points on the Lily Pond Octagon align with Carrigerry House, New Park House and Lochcutra Castle. Mount Ivors House in 6 Mile Bridge is aligned with the centre of that lily pond. That's maybe 5 kilometres away. Interesting also that New Park House is aligned itself with Mohon Fort, forming a triangle. Interesting also in looking at that line from the water fountain out to the temple, we have on the 1839 Ordnance Survey map a mound which sits at an equal and opposite angle from the line out to the temple. We don't know what may have been on that mound, but in the context of energy transmission of any kind, some semblance of balance would probably have needed to be maintained. Also beside the lily pond is what is known as the Hermit's Grotto. Now, this has all the appearance of an ordinary stone sweat lodge. The fire pit is there, the stone is constructed so as to maximise the surface area and the heat output, and it's possible that a splash around in the lily pond, followed by a session in the sweat lodge, constituted the spa treatment of the time. One final point about the turret on top of the hill, it is not unique. There was an identical one on a hilltop at Callan, which is 10 kilometres, almost 6 miles directly east of there. That turret is no more. Strangely, about 30 years ago, a bolt of lightning reduced it to a pile of rubble. If we take a line from this location on the hilltop at Callan and we go 28 kilometres southwest, we get to Adair Manor. And we can see straight away then that everything at Adair Manor was built on this line. Now, given that the hill at Callan is the biggest hill in Mid and East Clare, this is unlikely to be a coincidence. It's also unlikely that the guys at Adair would have come all the way out to Clare to view their racehorses, so we can assume that that turret had a practical function which was something different. Let me know if you think you know what it was. Thank you.